Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new start. Welcome on in. The clutch dump is no more, unfortunately. This is my new project. This is the Driver's Debrief podcast. So Ben and I seemingly have parted ways, and I wish him the best in his endeavor with his own podcast. Unfortunately, it was out of my control, but we've decided to go do our own things, and so this is the new home for the podcast. But before I get into all of the news that we have to talk about, because oh boy, let me tell you, there's a lot. Make sure to follow the channel, like and subscribe right here on YouTube. Follow me on X at NicholasPatti21. I tweet when new videos go up. I tweet every time a video goes up. And I post about all the motorsports stuff that we normally talk about here, but online. We're going to be going to Spotify and the rest of the podcasting platforms here pretty soon. But I think we're going to start out with YouTube and we're going to see how that goes. So if you are a previous Clutch Dump subscriber, first of all, thank you. But please do come on over and spend some time on this side of YouTube. So this is going to be our motorsport episode. We're going to start with that. And let me tell you, we got a lot to talk about. We got the Daytona 24 coming up, and it really kicks off the beginning of the motorsport season internationally. And after that, we have the Daytona 500. So let's start with some news. First off, unfortunately, and this is actually really sad, we lost Cale Yarborough in December of last year. If you're not familiar with who Cale Yarborough is, he's a three-time NASCAR champion, and that was consecutive, by the way. He was an IROC driver, Daytona 500, Indy 500 competitor, an absolute, not just a legend of NASCAR, but a legend of all of North American driving. I mean, if you are looking at American drivers, he is up there with Dan Gurney, Mark Donohue, and the rest. We also, in the same month, lost Gilles de Ferran. He passed away at 56. He was an Indy 500 winner. He was a two-time kart champion. He founded an ALMS prototype team. And so we've lost him as well. Man, just starting off with all the sad stuff, right? We have Rene I don't know how to say his last name, but it's Maget or Maget. He passed away. He was a Dakar driver, a Le Mans driver. He was a Porsche legend. So we obviously are saying goodbye to three legends in their respective disciplines. Moving on, Sky Sports has confirmed their commentator lineup. It's going to be obviously Jenson Button, Danica Patrick, Martin Brundle, and the rest. Danica Patrick still being an aspect of that was leading to a lot of speculation. A lot of people weren't very happy about it. I'm indifferent because I watch it on F1 TV, so I don't even see any of them broadcasting. CDR Valkyrie, the team is moving to IMSA competition with Toyota GT4 machinery. Dragon Speed will compete in the full IMSA Endurance Cup season next year, and they named Kiffin Simpson as one of the drivers on the roster. We have an updated entry list for the Daytona or the 24 Hours of Dubai, and 6 teams have withdrawn due to the event postponement. Sports Car 365 named Antonio Fuoco the driver of the year for Hypercar, Felipe Albuquerque for GTP, Louis Delatraz for LMP2, Felipe Fraga for LMP3, and George Kurtz is the best prototype driver for bronze-rated drivers. Fabio Scherer returns to United Autosport for the LMP2 class in the European Le Mans Series. This is one of my favorite bits of news from really the last month. But Bingo Racing is entering GT World Challenge Asia with, get this, a restored Callaway C7R. Thing looks sick. And I'm so happy they're keeping the pushrod front-engine V8 Corvettes in international competition. United Autosports also names Marino Sato as a lead driver in their World Endurance Championship LM GT3 car. However, Sports Car 365 selects Jules Gounon as the GT3 driver of the year, Nicky Katzberg and Nico Verone for GTE, and Ben Keating for bronze drivers. Quick recap, if you're new to GT racing, GT3 and GTE are separate classes, but as of 2024, as of this year, it is all GT3. GTE has gone away. Sports Car 365 also names Michael Shank Racing and their cheating scandal at Daytona this time last year as the scandal of the year. Ferrari wins manufacturer of the year. In leaked spy shots, we've seen that the Peugeot 9X8, which obviously came to fame for not having a rear wing, now has a rear wing. Peugeot's moving away from the design philosophy of the car that came to fame for not having a rear wing. Obviously, we got Lego sets of it, but apparently that was a 1-year deal because they've decided to move away from that. They started out the World Endurance Championship season not competitive at all, but as BOP kind of came into effect and as the season went on, teams got an understanding of their cars. The Peugeots actually got better. Obviously, Le Mans being at a point a situation in which they were in the top three. So I also just have a random fact. I was scrolling through X and I saw this, but apparently the Porsche 963 hit 214 miles an hour on the Mulsanne. Big news in the automotive world, and I guess I could have saved this for the motors or for the automotive episode, but the Porsche Taycan ran the Nürburgring in 7 minutes and 7 seconds, beating the Tesla Model S Plaid by 17 seconds. Not small margins here around the Nürburgring for Porsche and a new Taycan. It's supposed to be the kind of sportier, the RS version of the Taycan. We don't actually know what the name of it's going to be yet. Porsche, as of now, has not actually said what it is, but they did post photos of it lapping around the Nordschleife. TF Sport wants to run a Corvette at the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. So if you're not aware, TF Sport has run Aston Martins previously. On one of the episodes of the Clutch Dump, we covered when they announced that they're moving to the new Z06 GT3R. And now that they've had that car and they're going to be running it at Daytona and other races, they actually want to race at the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Apparently, Fernando Alonso, oh, daddy, he has bought a 2019 DTM Aston Martin Vantage, and he was doing some laps in it. So people are speculating if he's going to end up actually doing a race at Le Mans with Max Verstappen, because obviously Verstappen has been doing similar tests in a GT3R Porsche with his own kind of Max Verstappen race team. So people are wondering, maybe there's a collaboration coming here soon. Honestly, I hope so, but I wish it would be in hypercar. I wish they would, if Aston Martin ends up doing the Valkyrie program, even if it's with a privateer team, it would be absolutely sensational if we could get Aston to have Fernando and Max Verstappen in the same car. Sponsor news in Formula One: Peroni Zero Alcohol has left Aston Martin and apparently has replaced Estrella Garcia on the Ferrari. You'll remember that from Carlos Sainz's helmet. He always had that sponsorship on there. Apparently, that is gone. Last month, we commemorated the 1-year anniversary of Ken Block's tragic accident that claimed his life, and the car community has not been the same since his passing away. I've said this for a while, but Ken Block was never really somebody that growing up I was particularly fascinated by. He was always doing cool stuff, but the hoonigan gymkhana realm was not really something that I found particularly interesting or cared about. But even for me, it's been a noticeable absence not having him here. So obviously for others, it's a pretty sore date. Moving on to Luca Giotto returns to prototype racing. He last raced full-time in prototypes in 2022. He's joining Inter Europol's LMP2 lineup. Big news for the reigning champions of Le Mans, but AF Corsa confirms the privateer 499 Ferrari P lineup will be with Robert Schwartzman, Yiffy Yi, and Robert Kubica. Obviously, Kubica being Formula One driver, Rally, LMP2. Yiffy Yi just coming from Jota and the Le Mans 963 program, and Robert Schwartzman, who's a Ferrari Academy development driver. Moving on to the land of the free and the home of the brave, NASCAR. Sonny D is joining Josh Berry and Stuart Haas Racing for several races as the primary sponsor, including the Clash at the Coliseum and the Daytona 500. Albert Costa Balboa is joining Nielsen's Racing LMP2 program, their Pro-Am roster for the ELMS series. Frederick Vesti joins Cool Racing for LMP2 competition in the same European Le Mans series. IMSA development driver Courtney Crone is making the switch from LMP3 to Lamborghini Super Trofeo with World Speed. I actually met her at Radford. She was there with Buddy Rice, who's a Daytona 24 and Indy 500 winner. They came out to the track and did some private testing, so that was cool to meet them. And sadly, the Brabham, VT62 and I meant to be BT62. My bad. That's a typo. BT62 and BT63 GT2 programs are done. Finished. David Brabham confirmed that. Ford has unveiled the new M Sport Puma Rally 1 for 2024 WRC competition. WRT, now this is exciting for you fans of MotoGP as well. WRT has confirmed a 2-car entry for the 12 Hours of Bathurst, and it's featuring Valentino Rossi, and it's going to be Raffaele Marciello's first race as a BMW factory driver, but he's going to be in the car with Valentino Rossi, so that's going to be a sensational event. Team WRT has always been one of the top European teams in GT3 competition, whether it was with Audis or now with BMWs. They've obviously got the Rova sponsorship that they took from Porsche, and Rossi has now chosen to run with them. You got Raffaele Marciello now joining. So WRT is going to be an extremely competitive team at that 12-hour race. Coming back over to the land of the free, I don't know how I feel about this one, but SRX, the Superstar Racing Experience that you may have heard of if you're an international listener, is dead, gone. Just set sail off into the distance. What's replacing it, which ironically enough is bought by Ray Evernham, is IROC. So if you're not familiar, IROC is the International Race of Champions. It was started back in the early 70s. It started with the Porsche 3-liter RSR. Then it went to the second-gen Camaro. Then it went to the third-gen Camaro. And then it went to the Dodge Stealths. And then it went to the Pontiac Grand Am, or the Firebird, rather, in the early 2000s before it was killed off. And so drivers like Emerson Fittipaldi, Mark Donohue, Scott Goodyear, Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, hell, who else? Freaking AJ Foyt. We got other drivers too that have come through IROC, and it's an invitational race for the Race of Champions. You have to be an international racing superstar. Now, Superstar Racing Experience, or SRX, which is now dead, was supposed to be, also started by Ray Evernham, a rebirth of IROC because they didn't have the IROC trademark. They didn't have the IROC name. And so SRX, unfortunately, in my opinion, was not great. It had great racing, but it's all short track, dirt track. It's like quarter midgets or late model NASCAR racing, which is not at all what IROC was. IROC, as it got into the 90s, started becoming more and more NASCAR centric. More ovals, more NASCAR drivers, more like a NASCAR when it comes to the actual build of the car. And so I'm worried that what SRX did was, hey, it's the Superstar Racing Experience, but it's basically all NASCAR drivers and an IndyCar driver or two, and it's all ovals, not a single road course. So that, to people like myself and to people I know, is not interesting whatsoever. Now, IROC originally with the Porsches was all road courses. Then when it moved to the second-gen Camaros, all road courses. To my knowledge, it was the third-gen Camaro where they started doing ovals, but they also did ovals and road courses. Then when we moved to the Dodge Stealth, it was road course oval. And then when it was the Firebird, it was almost entirely, or was the Firebird or the Trans Am? I don't remember the F-body Pontiac models. I apologize. Get off. All right. I apologize. All right. Relax. But it was almost all ovals at that point. And so if this is just going to be another NASCAR series, I'm not interested. And this is what makes me nervous is Ray Evernham is a NASCAR guy, tried and true. His first run at this type of series was basically NASCAR. And where IROC left off, a lot of the people that can remember watching IROC only remember it being basically best of the best of NASCAR. I think a lot of this will be determined by what car they pick. So if they pick like Cayman GT4s, or if they pick another GT4 platform, I think that would be a great platform to pick. Have it unrestricted, or make it a NASCAR Next Gen Cup car, but Garage 56 spec. So it's got a lot more aero and it's more suited to road courses. If they were to make that the IROC car, I think by nature of the car's specifications, you'd have to run more road courses because it would lead to boring oval racing. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be oval centric. So let me know your thoughts. Feel free to comment in the comments below on this video and let me know what you think. If you're excited, if you're cautiously optimistic, or what your feelings are on the return of IROC. Prema, who you'll know from Formula 2 racing, is considering an IndyCar entry, which I think would be super cool. Prema has had multiple champions come through there, Formula 2 champions that moved on to F1. They're a super successful team in the discipline. So I think it would add a little bit more international appeal to IndyCar, considering that people like all F1 fans think IndyCar is a joke. So if one of their academy teams ends up coming over to IndyCar, I think it would do well for the American Series. Dollar Tree and Family Dollar are now Legacy Motor Club sponsors on the Toyotas. Connor Zilish joins Team Trackhouse for ARCA and Xfinity responsibilities in 2024. NASCAR stars Bubba Wallace and others are going to be racing a Super GT4 in the Roar before the 24 for Smooge Racing. This is something I think is awesome. And if there's other NASCAR drivers that do it, I will have increased respect for them. I think my respect is increasing for Bubba Wallace taking this on. Other than NASCAR competition, I've never seen Bubba Wallace race. So I think it'll be a super cool opportunity for him to kind of show his stuff to a community that isn't dedicated to NASCAR. Marco Sorensen will be racing with D Station Racing in Super GT 300 class. And if you're not familiar, Marco Sorensen was a Pro Drive Aston Martin factory driver. And so D Station Racing runs Aston Martin. So he's staying within the mark, but he's leaving the team and he's going to be running in Japan for Super GT 300. Probably the most disappointing news of this all is stage cautions are being implemented on road courses. The best part of the road course NASCAR races, other than the fact that it was on a road course, was the fact they had gotten rid of stage cautions. You can ask almost anyone, almost anybody that's a NASCAR fan, and I mean almost, like 90%, and that 90% will agree that road courses with no stage cautions were sensational. They were fantastic, and we're walking away from it. I don't know why they had something that worked and they're deciding to throw it out. Danilo Petrucci, who is a Superbike and MotoGP rider formerly, is competing in the 100 kilometers dei Campioni at Valentino Rossi's ranch with a custom-built 500cc two-stroke. So the 100 kilometers dei Campioni is a not dirt bike where it's what we're used to with motocross. It's more tame dirt bike racing. It's a 100-kilometer race at Valentino's Rossi Ranch. It's something he's been hosting. And so Danilo Petrucci is stepping off of the sport bikes, and he's going to compete at this race as a one-off. It was also announced today at the time of this recording, which is January 12th, that Williams and Abercrombie have a new collaboration. Logan Sargent was doing some modeling, some activation, some marketing for them. And let me tell you, stuff looks good. It's not like the PacSun Formula One where it's this lame kind of, okay, somebody who doesn't really know much about F1 made this. It's deep cut Williams stuff, and it takes back to the Rothman's era of the team, which is super. I mean, listen, it's the glory days. Williams was never better than when it was the early and mid 90s. So kudos to them for that. Ryan Eversley is now a Supra GT4 driver. And if you're not familiar with Ryan Eversley, he was a IMSA and Grand Am driver, but he was a Honda factory driver for that. So he's now driving a Toyota, but he is taking on a coaching role with LA Honda World being the reigning TCA SRO champions. Gunther Steiner, huge news for the world of Formula One. Like, I almost just kind of stumbled into this point. Gunther Steiner is gone. He's out. And Io Komatsu is in. He was one of the lead engineers for Haas. This has led to some controversy too, because Gene Haas has basically said he's tired of being embarrassed every single weekend. Gunther Steiner said, hey, Gene Haas, we need more money so we can be more competitive. Gene Haas said, no way, I ain't giving you any more money. Make do with what you have. And we don't know if Gunther was fired or if Gunther quit, but either way, he left effective immediately. This was yesterday or the day before. So Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hulkenberg, Haas personalities, mechanics, engineers, whatever, we're all pouring out there. Thank you, Gunther. Thank you for the work you've done. I personally, not a Gunther Steiner fan at all. Yeah, he's hilarious. Folk Smash is funny. Okay, great. But to me, that team has only gone backwards, and to blame it all on a lack of funding, I find hard to believe, because I don't anticipate that they would have been more funded at the beginning. Not to mention the fact that they started with no sponsors. Then they had a period where they had a lot of sponsors, name brand sponsors, primary sponsors, partners, and they didn't get any better because of it. So that's my 2 cents. Dragon Speed has unveiled a new LMP2 livery. And speaking of Williams Racing, it is a authentic, accurate throwback, a hearkening to the original Williams Rothman's livery, and it is so badass, and I am so excited to see it on track. Speaking of nothing really, that's LMP2, but running in IMSA, Alex Palou, the two-time and reigning IndyCar champion, is joining Chip Ganassi Racing in the 01 Cadillac GTP car for the 24 Hours of Daytona. He is running it for the second time. He's already run it once. NASCAR's Full Speed Netflix docuseries comes out on January 30th. It is like the NASCAR version of Drive to Survive, so we will see how that lands with the U.S. consumer base. I mean, listen, Americans, by and large, if they're into cars, are NASCAR fans. You don't have to convince them. Hopefully, though, this helps represent NASCAR to the more elite-ish. I'm not saying they're actually more elite, but they think they're more elite. The more pretentious crowd who is a Netflix superficial fan. Hopefully, this will open up the sport to them the same way it did for Formula One. But additionally, it will be available in Europe. So hopefully, the Europeans who normally talk trash about NASCAR can get a lesson in some freedom, as if Garage 56 wasn't enough. I'm going to save the Mahindra debacle for last in our news. Santino Ferrucci is confirmed as a AJ Foyt Racing driver, retaining the number 14 car. iRacing and IndyCar are reuniting with a licensing deal, so IndyCar is returning to the sim. Rahal Letterman Lanigan IndyCar is partnering with 5 Hour Energy. Rowdy Energy, Kyle Busch's energy drink company, is dead, gone, out of business. But Rebel Bourbon is joining Richard Childress Racing, and they're going to be sponsoring Kyle Busch in the number 8 Chevy for select races. Proton Competition has confirmed its lineup for Daytona with Romain Dumas, Alessio Picciarello, and others joining the roster. Fun fact, Romain Dumas is the only driver, a factory driver to be fair, to have driven the RS Spider, the 919, and the 963. So 3 generations of Porsche prototype, LMP1, LMP2, and GTP. Simon Mann, Miguel Molina, and rewind. Simon Mann, Miguel Molina, Francois Herlau, and Kai Cozzolino are driving in the Rolex 24 in the Ferrari 296. Molina, Herlau, and Simon Mann are going to be racing the full Endurance Cup season in IMSA in that Ferrari, leaving Cozzolino behind. Core Motorsports stays in IMSA as they were in it last year, but this year they're running the new S650 GT4 Mustang, and they're keeping the same driver lineup. Matt Swiderski is now Daniel Suarez's crew chief at Team Trackhouse. And this one kind of hurts, but we knew it was coming. Rebel Rock Racing, who ran the Camaro GT4. It was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful car. And nearly won the championship last year, is moving to an Aston Martin GT4. So let's talk about the Mahindra scandal. So if you've lived under a rock, you may not have seen this, but Mahindra is a Formula E team, and they decided to have a new influencer. Nothing wrong with that. They decided, however, that rather than hiring someone to be a Mahindra influencer, that they would just go ahead and have an AI girl created, and that AI would be the fan interacting touch point. The backlash was pretty intense, so much so that Mahindra 3 days afterwards pulled the plug, and by pulled the plug I mean killed her, because she was AI. Completely got rid of her. You may have seen this online, or at least a photo, and you may not have realized it. But I mean, the backlash, the criticisms were ranging from, there's plenty of people who are fighting really hard to get into motorsports, and this is a job that one of them could have had. You could have fulfilled one of their lifelong dreams, and instead you're replacing them with AI just because you don't have to pay it. And somehow they think that would be a better idea. So that was one of their criticisms. And then the other criticism was just, this is stupid. I don't want to talk to a robot get it off my For You page or your Instagram feed or what have you. So Mahindra has completely gotten rid of that. Oh, that was a lot. That's 25 minutes, guys, of just sheer motorsport news. But this goes back all the way to the beginning of December. So thank you for bearing with me. Drivers Debrief. Make sure to subscribe and like. But we got more news, so don't go anywhere. We have the entire 2024 Daytona list as of January 4th. Here on my computer. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to go through basically everybody that's registered. I'm going to try to do this pretty quickly. So in GTP, we have 11 entries. We have the number 1 Chip Ganassi Racing Cadillac with Bourdais, Van der Zande, and Dixon. We have the number 5 Proton Competition 963 with Bruni, Neil Yanni, and the others are TBD. We have the Porsche, or actually, I'm lying. That the Proton car was Bruni, Nigliani, Dumas, and Alessio Piccarello. The number 6 Porsche Penske car has Mathieu Jaminet, Nick Tandy, Kevin Estra, and Lawrence Vantor. That's going to be such a good team. And then the number 7 963 is Dane Cameron, Felipe Nasr, Joseph Newgarden, Matt Campbell. The number 10, Wayne Taylor Racing. Acura has Felipe Albuquerque, Ricky Taylor, Brendan Hartley, and Marcus Ericsson. The number 24, BMW from RLL has Augusto Farfus, Jesse Krohn, Dries Vantor, and the 4th driver is yet to be announced. The number 25 car, BMW as well from RLL, has Connor D. Filippi, Maxime Martin, Nick Yellowly, and the 4th driver is also to be determined. The number 31 Whelen Cadillac Racing car is going to be driven by Pippo Dorani and Jack Aitken with Tom Blomqvist as well. We have in the number 40 Wayne Taylor Racing. So if you're not aware, Michael Shank Racing has removed themselves from IMSA competition. Wayne Taylor bought their Acura and is now running a second car. The second car has Luis Delatraz, Jordan Taylor, Colton Herta, and Jensen Button. The number 63 Iron Lynx SC63 car has Andrea Caldarelli, Matteo Caroli, Roman Grosjean. The number 85 JDC Miller Motorsports Porsche 963 has Vanderhelm, Richard Westbrook coming from a Cadillac, Phil Hansen, and Ben Keating stepping up to the prototype class. In LMP2, we have the number 2 United Autosports car, Ben Hanley, Ben Keating, Nico Pino, and Pato O'Ward. Number 4, the CrowdStrike Orica with Colin Braun, George Kurtz, Maltha Jacobson, and Toby Sowery. The number 8 Tower Motorsports Orica is John Ferrano, Charlie Eastwood, Michael Dinan, Ferdinand Hasberg, and Scott McLaughlin. The number 11 TDS racing car of Mikkel Jensen, Stephen Thomas, and Hunter McElray. We have one more that has yet to be announced. The number 18 Era Motorsport car of Ryan Dial, Dwight Merriman, Connor Zilish, and Christian Rasmussen is going to be competing as well. The number 20 MDK by High Class Racing car has Dennis Anderson, Seth Lucas, Lawrence Hoare, and a 4th driver to be announced. In the number 22 United Autosports car, we have Paul DeResta, Daniel Goldberg, Bijoy Garg, and Felix Rosenquist. The number 33 car of Sean Creech Motorsport, the Ligier this time, has Joao Barbosa, Lance Wilsey, Johnny Edgar, and Nolan Siegel. The number 52 Inter-Europol car by PR1 Matthias and Motorsports has Nick Buell, Jakub Schmakowski, Tom Dillman, and Clement Novalak. The number 74 Riley Orica has Gar Robinson, Felipe Fraga, Josh Burden, and Felipe Massa. Believe it or not, Felipe Massa, you heard me right. The number 81 Dragon Speed car has James Allen, Eric Lux, Kiffin Simpson, and the 4th driver is yet to be announced. The number 88 AF Corsa Orica has Louis Perez Compact, Nicholas Nielsen, Lila Wadu, and the 4th driver is TBD. The number 99 AO Racing Orica has Paul Chaton, PJ Hyatt, Matthew Brabham, and Alex Quinn. The GT Daytona Pro category. The number 1 Paul Miller Racing BMW of Brian Sellers, Madison Snow, Neil Verhagen, and Sheldon Vanderlinde. The number 3 Corvette God Bless America has Antonio Garcia, Alexander Sims, and Daniel Juncadella. The number 4 Corvette racing car has Nicky Katzberg, Tommy Milner, and Earl Bamber. The FAF Motorsports McLaren, God, that hurts to say, has Oliver Jarvis, Martin Kirchhofer, James Hinchcliffe, and Alexander Rossi. The number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus has Ben Barnicoat, Jack Hawksworth, Kyle Kirkwood, and Mike Conway. Yes, the same Mike Conway from the Toyota hypercar program. The number 19 Iron Lynx Lamborghini has Mirko Bortolotti, Andrea Caldarelli, Jordan Pepper, and Frank Pereira. The number 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin has Ross Gunn, Alex Riberas, and Mario Farnbacher. The 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari has Alessandro Perguidi, Davide Rigon, and Daniel Serra. The Ford Multimatic Mustang GT3 has Mike Rockenfeller, Harry Ticknell, and Christopher Meese. The number 65 Multimatic Ford Mustang has Joey Hand, Dirk Mueller, and Frederick Vervich. My apologies. The number 75 Sun Energy One Racing Mercedes has Mauro Engel, Jules Gounon, Kenny Habul, and Lucas Stoltz. 3 big factory Mercedes names in that ride. Then the number 77 AO Racing Porsche has Lauren Heinrich, Sebastian Priaulx, and Michael Christensen. Last but not least, we have GT Daytona. So this is your Pro-Am category. The number 12, Vassar Sullivan Lexus with Frankie Montecalvo, Parker Thompson, Aaron Telitz, and Ritomo Miata. The number 13, AWA Chevy Corvette of Matt Bell, Ore Fidani, Lars Kern, and Alex Lynn. Lars Kern being a Porsche factory driver, which I find very interesting. The number 17 AWA Chevrolet Corvette has Anthony Mantella, Nico Verone, Thomas Merrill, and Charlie Eastwood. 21 AF Corsa Ferrari has Kai Cozzolino, Francis Herlau, Simon Mann, and the other one was announced. I mentioned that earlier. The number 23 Triarsi Competizione Ferrari of Ricky Agostini, Alessio Rovera, Charlie Scardina, and Onofrio Triarsi. The number 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin with Roman DeAngelis, Marco Sorensen, Zachary Robichon, and Ian James. That is a star-studded lineup. The number 32 Korthoff Preston Motorsports Mercedes has Mikkel Grenier, Mike Skeen, Kenton Cook, and Maximilian Goetz. That's another incredible team. We're going to have a sensational race on our hands. The number 34 Conquest Racing Ferrari has Alberto Costa Balboa, Manny Franco, Cedric Sabozzuli, Alessandro Balzan. The number 43 Andretti Motorsports Porsche GT3R, Jared Andretti, Gabby Chavez, Scott Hargrove, and Thomas Preining. The number 44 Magnus Racing Aston retains its same lineup from last time: Andy Lally, John Potter, Spencer Pumpelly, and Nicky Team. The number 45 Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Lamborghini has Danny Formal, Kyle Marcelli, Graham Doyle, and Ashton Harrison. The number 47 Cetelar Ferrari, Antonio Fuoco, Roberto Lacorte, Giorgio Serna Giotto, and Eddie Cheever III. The number 55 Proton Mustang has not had its drivers announced. The number 57 Windward Racing Mercedes has Daniel Morad, Russell Ward, and more. The number 60 Iron Lynx Lamborghini has Matteo Cairoli, Matteo Cresoni, Roman Grosjean, and Claudio Schivoni. The number 66 Gradient Racing Acura has Catherine Legg, Sheena Monk, Tatiana Calderon, and Stephen McAleer. The number 70 Inception Racing McLaren has Brendan Aribe, Frederick Schandorf, Ollie Milroy, and Tom Gamble. The number 78 Forte Racing Lamborghini also has Misha Goikhberg, Laura Spinelli, Devlin Di Francesco, and Sandy Mitchell. The number 80 Lone Star Racing Mercedes has not yet announced its drivers. The number 83 Iron Dames Lamborghini Huracan has Sarah Bovey, Rahel Frey, Michelle Gadding, and another driver yet to be announced. The number 86 MDK Motorsports Porsche GT3R has Anders Fjordbach, Karong Lee, Klaus Bachler, and Larry Ten Voord. The number 91 Kelly Moss with Riley Porsche has not announced its drivers. The number 92 Kelly Moss Porsche has. They have David Brule, Alex Udell, and 2 other drivers to be announced. The number 96 Turner Motorsports GT3 has Robbie Foley, Patrick Gallagher, Jake Walker, and Jens Klingman. The number 120 Wright Motorsports Porsche has Adam Adelson, Elliott Skier, Ian Halen, and Frederick Makavicki. Wow. So that is the entire field as of yet for the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona. Obviously, some of those are going to change. More drivers are going to be announced. But as of now, that is what is available. This year marks the 20th anniversary, however, of the overall win by the Racers Group in a Porsche GT3 RSR, a 996, where they, due to mechanical failures in the prototypes, won overall in a GT car, and it's the last time that has ever been done in Rolex 24 history. We're going to have a special episode where we talk to a driver that was on that team, BJ Zacharias, and we're going to talk about Daytona. That's going to be after the race, but don't go anywhere because we got some more. So these are IMSA's top 10 storylines for this year's Rolex 24. The first talking point is the fact that this is the second year of GTP, and we're obviously going to have more cars added to it. We're going to have a robust GTD Pro field, and it's actually double the size of the previous field. Lamborghini has joined GTP, obviously, but they're also joining GTP for the Endurance Cup that will be at Sebring. We have the new and improved GT cars with Aston Martin and Corvette and Mustang bringing in new entries. Both Acura cars, as I mentioned earlier, are racing under the Wayne Taylor Racing Andretti umbrella. We have Pfaff and McLaren. The LMP2 class has exponential growth because LMP3 is gone. So we had a lot of LMP3 cars that actually jump up to LMP2. We have new GTP driver lineups, as we mentioned, a lot of them mixed around and moved around from car to car or team to team. And then Indianapolis has been added to the now expanded Michelin Endurance Cup. So that's going to do it for episode 1 of the Driver's Debrief, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure to follow me on social media on X at NicholasPatti21. Make sure to like and subscribe this video. Make sure to comment. What do you think IROC is going to turn out to be? Is it going to be a NASCAR copycat, or is it going to be its own unique organic series like the days of old? Let me know below. Do you think Daytona is going to be the best one yet? Is this going to be a new, better chapter for GTP, or is BOP going to kind of get in the way or be done incorrectly and lead to a runaway winner? Let me know in the comments. This is the next chapter. Thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with me. I will see you all very soon on the next episode of the Driver's Debrief. So long.